Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make a double fanfold muck ice dye. The first thing you want to do is center your shirt. So using your washable marker, make a mark up at the top where the center is, and then to find the center at the bottom, you want to take the two side seams, fold those together, and where they meet in the middle, make a mark with your washable marker. Now taking those marks that we just made and pinching them and giving it a shake, you're isolating out the front of the shirt. You want to then tuck the sleeve inside the other sleeve and pull the material over, laying it on top of the part that we just laid flat, and then smooth it out. Now it's really hard to explain. It's just a lot easier to watch. The one thing I want to stress, it's very important to line up all of your seams in the shoulder and in the armpit of the shirt. Since we're doing a symmetrical pattern, it's really important that everything lines up so that it matches. I realize that I'm somewhat obsessive over this step and I take a long time on it. I feel that it's really important to get the foundation of your tie-dye just right, because if it's not perfect, then your symmetry is going to be off. So I'm trying to just really show you the truth about what it takes to make a tie-dye and not edit out the extra 5 minutes that it takes me. I probably center shirts for about 10 minutes sometimes. This is a 5XL. There's a lot of fabric, it's a soft shirt, and I want it to be perfect. Once your shirt is centered and it's all smoothed out, it's time to create the pattern. Using a washable marker and a piece of kite string, I decide where I want to make the arc. I'm going right around the underarm area, maybe about an inch down, and creating this nice big half circle. Pleat along this line, and you want to make it as straight as possible. So I find if I twist the shirt out in front of me, it's easier to make those pleats in a nice straight line. Once you have that line pleated up, it's time to secure your shirt. And for this project, I'm using kite string. If all you have is rubber bands will be fine too. You're going to continue to work on your pleats and go all the way down to the tip with the kite string and work your way back to the starting point. Now that you've made it back to the starting point and your arc is all secure, you're going to work on the rest of the shirt. Now, I'm not introducing any new folds yet. Since this is a 5XL shirt, it's going to get pretty bulky and the pleats are going to begin to get really tall. that's when I may introduce new pleats. But by introducing new pleats too soon, you're going to change your arc and you'll sort of end up getting what kind of look like peacock feathers. I don't want those quite yet. Down towards like the edge of the shirt, I don't mind them so much, but I really want the definition in that arc. So I've really sped this footage up, and the reason for that is just because I don't want the length of this tutorial to be 2 hours long. I think you would get bored. But just work your way all the way down to the end, continuing to make those pleats, and then work your way back up to the starting point and secure it with a simple double knot. So now that the shirt's secure, it's the fun part. We get to add the dye. So I'm going to use a washable marker and I'm going to mark out my pattern. This shirt measured approximately 24 inches, so I decided to go every 2 inches with my dye. And I have my swatches laid out and I've put the color of the pens so that it's easier for me to remember my dye pattern. Now, you don't have to do this, it's just a matter of preference. Since this is going to be a muck dye, I've placed the shirt down inside of a plastic bin, and I'm using these silicone cake molds to create an ice barrier. And now we get to add the dye. So I use a disposable spoon that I reuse over and over again, but I only use 1 spoon per each pot of dye because I do not want to cross-contaminate my colors if I can help it. I'm going pretty heavy with the dye because I want to get good color saturation. When I get the dye on the shirt, then I use the back of the spoon to smooth it out and make sure that I don't have any white spots showing. I decided at the last minute to add a little bit of the strong navy up here at the neck of the shirt, and you'll see at the end, I sure am glad that I did that. Now that you have the dye on the shirt the way you want it, I do a quick little sprinkle of soda ash just for good measure. Yes, the shirt is soaked in the soda ash bucket prior to folding it up, but I'm going to be packing on so much ice, I want to make sure that there's enough soda ash left in the shirt so that the dye and the soda ash can react with the cotton fibers. I filled up some empty dye bottles with plain tap water, and I'm using those to help hold the cake molds in place. When you add the ice, it has a tendency to want to push the cake molds out, and I really want that ice and the dye to stay right there on top of the shirt. Once you get all of the ice on, you want to let it melt, and then you start the batch timer. It's 24 hours after the ice melts. I think this shirt ended up batching for more like 36 hours or 40 hours. Because the ice had to melt, I went to sleep and then I didn't know when the ice had stopped melting. So I just waited a whole day and then decided to rinse it the next morning. So that doesn't really matter, but you don't have to batch longer than 48 hours. So now it's time for the rinse out. And as always, you start by using cold water. That rinses out any soda ash that might still be in the shirt. Now with ice dyes, there's probably not a lot of soda ash left in there, but I still do that cold water step anyways. Then you want to increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. Then from here it's going to go into the washing machine. I do a hot water cycle. Then I do a second hot water cycle using Symmetry, which is a textile detergent that I get from Dharma. I do a third hot water cycle using Millsoft, and that brings softness back into the fibers and the fabric because dyeing can kind of make the t-shirts feel stiff. And then we put it in the dryer and we come back and we see our results. I'm always like a little kid on Christmas morning. When I open up my shirts, I'm so excited to see the colors. Are you guys like that too? Well, here it is, guys. Here's our shirt after it's been washed and dried. And I love it. It turned out awesome. So I said I'm glad that I put the navy blue up at the neck of the shirt. And you see why? That navy blue just frames the top of the shirt. I love the color combination. I think all these colors work really well together. The emerald green sure is beautiful. And it's a muck dye, so we have the dark lines sort of separating each of the colors. And since it's not an incline ice dye, we don't have those big long spikes that I normally have in my shirts. I just think the shirt really turned out cool. What do you guys think? Go ahead and leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a thumbs up and click the bell for future notifications. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing.